Hi there, everyone. Dr. Rob Kiltz. How you doing? Just getting set up here, so give us a few minutes waiting for Lynsi to connect with us. We're here 4 to 5-ish and going to talk about hypnosis and fertility. And welcome. We're really excited to talk about Lynsi's sharing how hypnosis and the mind-body connection is really, really valuable to so many. So hang on one second as we're just waiting for a minute for Lynsi to connect in. And once she does that, I'll connect her up and so we can have a live video with both of us. So be patient in the process, and hello to everyone. Thanks for joining us. Still winter in upstate New York. And give me a moment here as we're getting all connected. Slow but sure. Hang in there. Hang on there, Lynsi. I got you. I don't know. One more time. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm still. Will's not with me today. He's my master of technology. So welcome, Lynsi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Fantastic, fantastic. And we're just in the background waiting for people to comment a little bit. They're going to be asking questions, also telling us, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. And we're really excited to have you sharing your thoughts and ideas, and really excited about what you've shared over the last 15 or longer years.
Yeah, probably about 18 or so now.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And, you know, so many of us forget about the mind-body connection. All right, hang on there. I gotta silence one part of this. So, but again, welcome. And maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you brought to the world of fertility.
Sure, absolutely. I've been doing this, like I said, for about 18 years with fertility itself. Started in hypnosis about 20 years ago. Before that, started in Reiki, which is like an energy healing type of thing. And that's what led me to hypnosis. I ended up in the Denver area, and there's a couple of big clinics here. And what was going on at the time, this is when things were really starting to sort of come up into the awareness. A lot of women were getting a 0% chance diagnosis. They were just being told, you're not going to have a baby, go do something else with your life, or find out about adopting. And they ended up coming to me. You know, I believe there's synchronicities and everything is in the right time, because I had just moved to Denver when this started coming to me. And so these women were coming in, can you help me with lowering my FSH? Because at the time, that was what they were using. FSH over 12, that's it. That's what they were doing at the time. So can you help me lower that? Or when they were going through in vitro, can you help me with the shots? Or I have a needle phobia, I can't do this because I can't do the needles. And so I was helping with those various things. And what was happening is women that were doing IVF were finding that they had what they called a night and day response. They weren't having the mood swings from the hormones or the drugs. They were finding themselves, well, what they literally said, a night and day. They were able to forget about it for a while, because you know how they get kind of obsessed. It's easy to get so obsessed over this, and it's so much timing, so many, just so much with the cycles, and even naturally trying to conceive. So they were really relieved as saying that, you know, I actually forgot about this for a little while. I actually had a conversation with my husband that had nothing to do with this. So physically they were feeling better, emotionally, mentally they were feeling better. And then all these babies started showing up, right, which was really interesting, because some of them, you know, the clinics wouldn't even see them again, and then they were getting pregnant naturally. And the big thing was they would say to me, I feel like there's a baby there. I just feel that there's a baby there. And I said, you know, I believe you. You feel this. And let's do what we can and see what's going on. Let's tap into, because hypnosis taps into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your feed and breathe, right? And people are spending so much time in the fight or flight response that that is definitely not conducive to trying to conceive, whichever way you're trying to do that. So we just started working and just using the benefits of hypnosis, which hypnosis is known for childbirth and it's known for anxiety. And it was just helping. So I was getting these babies that were conceived naturally, as well as having women who were in the process of using.
And on the cover of your most recent second edition, and I think it was on the first edition also, correct, is Liam?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And which is just a testimony to the ability of the whole concept and idea and the process of rethinking what we've thought was straight science, and maybe there's something more to it.
Exactly. And I definitely came at it from, hypnosis is like an art and a science. And, people have sort of different ideas about it, but it's actually becoming quite mainstream. It's very similar to guided meditation and some of those types of things, but it also has more power because we can help access the subconscious mind. And sometimes there's blockages going on there, even if we don't want them. I mean, we can be conscious and say, I don't want this block, or I want to have a baby, but sometimes the subconscious mind is on a different page. And that's where the hypnosis is powerful, because it can help to shift that. So it's complementary across the board. Whatever you guys are doing, I can help.
Well, so as a traditional Western physician, sort of didn't really believe in prayer, meditation, hypnosis, or complementary, or some people call alternative medicine. But through the years and as we were taught, FSH, AMH, it's not going to work, go adopt, or donor eggs. And that was the spiel. But to come to learn over the years of doing this, and for me, it's been over 20 years and nearly 30 years now, and learning how much the power of the mind and how the mind-body connection. Maybe you could just share a little bit about the science behind you mentioned fight or flight and the subconscious a little bit, and how the mind-body where there is science back there, and how that is likely an important tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Hypnosis, it's basically the antithesis of stress. When we use hypnosis, we are going to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite. So people are interestingly always familiar with fight or flight, but they don't know the other term, the rest and digest, or feed and breed. And I think we're supposed to be in our sympathetic nervous systems about 3% of our lives. And we're probably there anywhere from 50 to 90, 95, 99% these days, because we haven't really evolved to catch up with our systems. So we were set up to have immediate threats and deal with immediate threats, like the tiger chasing us. We had to run or hide or fight. And then the threat was over. So we either went about our day, or we were eaten, or whatever it was, but it was over. Nowadays, nothing is over, because we have this constant email and these constant phone calls and text messages, and we have a lot of expectations. People expect you to be available 24/7. Then we have mortgages, we have the economy, we have, politics, we have everything that's going on. That's just, it just bombards us, especially with social media, because you kind of get in there and you check one thing and then you're sucked in, and then you're reading an article that leads you to another article. Now you're stressed. Too much information is a big deal too. So that taps into that, just putting people into that negative fight or flight response. Hypnosis also helps us to balance the hemispheres of the brain. And that allows us to be more receptive to creating the change that we want. So it actually strengthens the communication between the two sides of the brain, and we can also rewire basically the neural pathways. And so when we have like that negative, going on and on and on in the head, that cycle, I can't get pregnant, I'm never going to get pregnant.
Worry.
What's wrong with me?
Worry.
Yes, worry. I'm broken.
Yeah. We
can shift that and shift it quickly. Whereas people are, we do other techniques. We have to do it for 30 days. We have to do it, 24/7. There's a lot of, we have to stand on our head. We have to do a lot of things. With hypnosis, we can create that shift quickly. And then I teach tools to reinforce that, so people can easily tap in.
So in some way, hypnosis, and I kind of equate hypnosis to prayer and meditation, and so rewiring the thinking, because as you said, this constant bombardment of so much going on in our environment, and as I'm sitting here just talking with you, the news flashes are coming up on the screen, and our brain is not used to that, and so this cortisol and epinephrine that's affecting the stress factors in our body, which in some way affects blood flow, inflammation, ovarian blood flow, testicular blood flow, which is going to bathe the ovary and the testes with good things or bad things, essentially. And so when you see an individual or a couple, what type of things do you sort of begin to ask them, or what's that first meeting like, or what things do you probe for?
Well, a lot of times they've come in because they've been through everything else, and then they've heard about the hypnosis. And when I started doing this, there was nothing about hypnosis and fertility. Hypnotherapists could work with things, but nobody was doing anything with it or specializing. So the first book that I wrote was to let the public know that it was an option. So that's changed a bit over the years, because now people are more familiar with knowing that hypnosis is an option. But a lot of times, we say we're kind of the last stop. By the time people get to us, they're emotionally devastated, they're frustrated, they're exhausted, they're broke, and they don't even believe in anything anymore. But it's kind of the last shot, and then we still get results after all of that. And that's hypnosis across the board. So I want to find out what's going on. Are you trying to conceive naturally? Are you going to do IVF? Are you doing donor? Where are you with that? Mm-hmm. And then support that from there. Instantaneously, the first session, I want to be comfortable. I want to feel good. And I did a little research study of my own, because there's not much research. And out of the sample that I took, which was 36 cases, and I looked at live births, and I looked back through those, the one thing I noticed, which was really interesting, was women either on the first session itself or on the second reported they felt better and more relaxed than they had been in weeks, in months, in years, or ever. And they didn't have to do anything to do it. So that's where I go with, the initial session. What's going on? I don't care how old you are, but I need to know, because I know what you're getting out there from that. What's going on? Sometimes the doctors, different ones, someone will go in expecting, just give me a workup and I want to know that I can go ahead and get pregnant. And then they get, sorry, nope, donor eggs, that's it. And they're shocked. That's shocking. Nobody's ready to hear that. So I have to determine what's going on, so I can basically remove that, take that from the subconscious mind. And because consciously, one thing, and then subconsciously, the subconscious responds to emotion, right? So anything that's delivered with a strong emotion is going to right in there. So that's where I'm going.
So that the emotions which move us in some way, because without emotions, you're not moving to do something. They get out of hand because the worry sort of dynamic just keeps on us, and that the stress hormones just keep on pushing us. And so there's just all this stuff, and then we can't see the way to the other side. And it sounds like the hypnosis is maybe beginning to retool and rethink the outcomes. And do you talk about vision boarding or journaling? What type of tools do you sort of send people home with?
I do teach some self-hypnosis. Sorry, I've got still the tail end of a cold.
Oh.
So I'm trying to keep my voice going here.
Go slow. We're grateful you're sharing with us today.
In my field, I need to be able to speak in my field. That's my thing, right?
Very much so. We appreciate you taking the time today to share.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now tell me again, sorry, what was it you wanted?
We talk about tools, and it's interesting because I sort of came upon much of what you talk about probably around 15 years ago when I read Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. We subsequently began to incorporate acupuncture, yoga, massage, and meditation. I started doing a daily intention, and we wrote a couple of books on the Fertile Secret.
Right.
and incorporated things like vision boarding and journaling and there's a lot of like just be positive, which is it's easy to say, but it's hard to practice. But what can we send people home with that they could begin to utilize the tools? Because I'm sure that you see them for that hour or whatever the time frame is every so often. But what can they do when they're not with you?
Right. And part of it is validation, just knowing that, just being able to speak, because in this world, there's a lot that women want to talk about and nobody to listen, because sometimes it's just so much. So just validation, being able to listen and hear so they can clear some of that out and then be able to move forward. When I say validation too, it's okay to think negative. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to cry. You just don't want to stay there. So learning how to bring yourself back around, because people can get kind of sucked into having to think positive all the time. And I've seen clients come in and say, oh my God, I've had a negative thought over the weekend. I just ruined the whole cycle. No, you didn't. You know how to pull yourself back. It's when you're staying there, you're just being steeped in it. So we're helping to get back into staying more of the time in that more rest and digest type of, counter fight or flight response. I teach self-hypnosis and I teach quick methods to access the hypnosis state, which is basically the meditative state, which is basically the state we're in when we're relaxed and doing maybe energy work, but how to access it quickly. Sometimes clients will find they're going into the clinic and they're expecting one thing and then something else has to happen, an extra blood draw, some other procedure. And they didn't expect it, and it kind of throws them off. And so the hypnosis they can tap into immediately, which makes the whole body more receptive to anything. Like I've had women that they can't get their blood drawn. And, the nurses or whoever's doing it has tried and tried and tried for 30 minutes and can barely get this much, and they want 12 vials or whatever it is. And I teach a method of how to tap into that, and they can get the blood so easily. It's always kind of amazing. Blood draws are like my favorite. But also to empower you to be able to do it yourself. You don't need me to be there at whatever the procedure is. You learn how to tap into that. So there's some conditioning that goes on. And then I do some recordings that they can also listen to, which will help, again, just for getting into the parasympathetic nervous system. It just makes everything so much better. I talk about in It's Conceivable, the cancel technique, which is, drawing the red X through the negative thoughts. And that's a cognitive behavioral therapy technique. It's basically changing the way you think. And it's really helpful because you can use it on the spot. So if somebody gives you a negative suggestion or tells you something devastating, you can cancel it out. And in your mind, you just think of a red X or a delete key if you want, or an eraser from a board, cancel. So one of my clients uses the 3 red X's from Family Feud.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
and then you replace that. That's going to help you get that negative thought out of there. And then you replace it with something positive. So that's, I had a client that came out years ago and she was looking for an acupuncturist. So she came out, she wasn't from this area, but she was out in Denver, and I'd set up to meet with her, and she was looking for an acupuncturist, but way down south in the city. So not in my area. So I said, I'll get you a referral. But before I could, she found somebody. And this person was, fertility acupuncture of some sort. And the woman got my client on the table. My client's a medical doctor. She's actually a neonatal specialist. And she's on this table with needles poking out every which way. And the woman then says, I can't believe you're going to do IVF. Aren't you terrified? What if it fails? It's a horrible, and starts really getting negative with it, which you don't belong in the field if that's the direction you're going to go, So my client said, I sat there and I said the cancel technique at least 100 times. So grateful to have the cancel technique. And that's where that little technique, so powerful, comes in. Somebody says, you have to do donor eggs before you've had a chance to even think about anything else. Cancel. I'm going to get pregnant, I'm going to have my baby in the right time, in the right way, but reinforcing a positive over the negative.
One of the things we're used to answers, science, fixing fast. And obviously fertility is supposed to be a natural process that's supposed to happen without all of us. And so the shots, the pills, the surgery, the complexities, the why it works or doesn't work, and what happened, and so much of what we see is the frustration just with the complexity of all the stuff. And you know, a lot of it is how to get people to this spot early and tap into this process, because really Seem Like Fertility is not just an IVF center. We utilize natural methods, and we want to share ideas, as you brought to an important treatment or tool, is that it can happen when we least think it can happen. And we doctors, I think, have been trained kind of to be downers. We want to give you the worst case scenario, but we're not very good coaches and cheerleaders. But it's kind of interesting because some people just want the straight answer, and yet maybe they're just there isn't a straight answer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's great to have you as a resource. I just sent somebody actually to you on Friday, and who had been at one of the other clinics. And, you know, there's clinics everywhere, right? People are coming from Denver to New York. They're coming from, you know, Prague. They're coming from all over the place and jet setting around the world for this. But she was just told that she has great AMH. They said it was great. They said everything was great, but her age, so she should just start with donor. And I said, I got a doctor you need to talk to, and gave her your information, because she was like, well, we've only been trying for 2 months, and I'm not really sure how she even ended up in there. But a lot of that happens because it seems like it's in the collective. So now everybody's going to the doctor to get permission to get pregnant instead of what we used to do, which was just stop taking birth control. So I'm not sure how exactly she ended up in there, but she's got real great numbers, and just over a certain age, you know, over 40. And so just immediately just do donor or forget it kind of thing. So, you know.
Well, it is an interesting. Then there's this advanced maternal age. Right. You know, you're 35 and you're already in a category that doesn't sound good at all. And we all know that there are plenty of women having babies over 35, and the postponement of childbearing is an issue, and the use of all these medications and hormones and birth control. And obviously we'd all like the ability to sort of plan, but then things happen in life that are kind of against what we thought was the plan. But maybe there's a greater plan that we're all trying to sort of tap into and get a better understanding of how life really works. But we doctors are just like all other human beings, and sort of we have a training manual that we've been given, and so we think that's the only way. But as we all go through things, and you know, I actually did my residency in Denver. My daughter was born in Denver, and I have fond connections with Denver. I almost ended up back in Denver, but I chose upstate New York instead. But it is amazing how couples, individuals are traveling the world for their care, and all the doctors out there are really fantastic, and they really have a lot of great things to offer. But sometimes the standard Western approach just isn't hitting it. And in truth, the real true standard and foundation is complementary medicine, which has been around for thousands of years, which incorporates the mind and herbs and touch and massage and music and just words. And you know, that's the interesting part. I think that real hypnosis is tapping into words and how to change the dialogue in the mind. And really, I've always believed that there's electromolecular biochemical reactions going on. And so what we're working to do is change what's going on in our bodies, the physiology. And you mentioned rest and digest. We don't do that very well.
No.
We're constantly on the go, and then we're wondering, you know, sort of like, I'm tired in the middle of the day, and it's not natural. But in fact, being tired in the middle of the day is likely natural, and resting more. And after a
Right.
meal, we're not resting, we're running. And so we're not doing enough slowing down at all. And I'm wondering how you incorporate things like music or sound, or I do a lot of audible books, finding
Mm-hmm.
something, and you mentioned that people record some things, and you have some recordings also that you utilize?
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading your article on the Ferrari, and that was just perfect to explain that whole fight and flight and rest and digest type of thing. Because you're right, we don't take care of that, and we don't take care of what we're eating. In fact, a lot of times we eat, we don't know we ate. Um, we just shoved it down, and we're driving, and making a phone call and everything, and then this fast food bag. Hopefully not, but if it's there and it's sitting there empty, I guess I ate. So that's kind of hard. But yeah, music, and it doesn't even matter what kind. Like great meditative music, angel music. I like the water. I don't know if you're familiar with. I can never think of his name, but the Japanese guy. He was in. I think he was in The Secret, or he's in What the Bleep Do We Know? That photographed the water crystals. But he's got an amazing album that is pictures, a little bit of a description, and then some music that is designed to help to impact the cells of the body. So something like that is great. Sometimes rock and roll music, if that's what you need, headbanging stuff, get in the car, turn it up loud, and just kind of let go of some stress.
Create a smile and some
Yeah.
joy, and that's good to do that, because I know sometimes it's like but you have to have. My wife and I have been doing dance lessons and
Nice.
great motion, and I highly recommend dancing as a great, okay, I'm going to use the word exercise, by the way, although
Yeah.
I don't recommend exercise, but you want to move, and when you're in a group, it really is good energy that we surround ourselves with, which boosts the oxytocin and serotonin, reduces cortisol and epinephrine. It is really valuable for everyone. And talk about. I know there's a lot of meditation,
Mm-hmm.
audio things out there that are words. Any recommendations there? Do you know?
The thing with, I know a lot of the clients that I deal with have tried to do meditation, and I know that you've actually experienced it much differently. We talked about that a while ago, but some of them get real frustrated because the idea that you have to still your mind, you have to sit there and everything has to be quiet, the perfect still, glass-like surface of the lake, and we can't always do that. We can learn, and it's a great thing to do eventually, but when you're in a time crunch with this. So with anything you're listening to, anything that you're doing, you have to understand you don't have to pay attention to it. Put it on. I say all you got to do is press play. So pretty much, I mean, sometimes you're not going to resonate with some of the recordings or other things that you have, but I like what's his name, Rick Hansen, and I think it's Richard Menendez or Melendez, something like that. But they're both. One of them is a psychologist, Buddhist, and the other one is a neuro MD. I forget what he is exactly, but they have a lot of great meditations and a lot of explanations on how the brain works.
Well, it's interesting because when I talk about meditation, I do not talk about stilling the mind at all.
Right.
Because you actually want to guide and direct the mind. I always say death is the way to turn the mind off. The mind is always going. It's going in the background. And so what you want to do is you want to change the background story, which we brought from yesterday, and change it to a new story today. And in some way, hypnosis is really kind of feeding the brain new concepts and ideas to change the physiology of the body. And I think that's really so powerful in the stories you've shared. And you bring stories of success to, and tell me about the stories now, how important those stories can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And And that's really important what you said, because there is an idea that meditation means stilling the mind, so people will throw that out the window, and then they don't do anything helpful in that mind-body connection. So just know that, you know, you don't have to do that, that just exactly what you said is guiding the mind. Part of what I do too is just keep you in the moment. And if you can remember, because we only have the moment, we don't have anything else. We have this moment right now, that's it. So yeah, some of the success stories are just amazing. Stress, we can thrive on stress. I mean, without stress, we wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. It's that negative or that excessive stress that's the problem. And the mind, you know, seizes on fear and then causes this stress. And so with the hypnosis, we can help you to not only de-stress some, but also just work with whatever stress. So I had a doctor, for example, and she was in her I think she was about 42, 43 years old, and she was about to do a fellowship, and she wanted to get pregnant, and she'd actually lost a baby, and so she had taken off a year between, you know, for doing this fellowship, took a whole year off, wasn't doing anything, was not getting pregnant, trying everything that there was, and I ended up getting her, I think it was like a couple months before the fellowship was to start. And she decided to do donor, and she did, and she got 22 embryos they ended up with.
Wow.
And she started the fellowship, and within a couple of weeks there she was naturally pregnant. And so she went through the fellowship, she had this beautiful birth, you know, this beautiful pregnancy, wasn't a problem like what she'd had before, and she was busy, you know. So it was more about getting that, that balance. I always call it balancing intention and surrender. So intention, what am I going to do? I want to get pregnant. I'm going to do timed intercourse. I'm going to try naturally. I'm going to do, you know, IUI or medicated or whatever it is. Okay, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do acupuncture. You're going to do hypnosis. Those are the things you're going to do. And then you surrender that and allow that to happen. And whatever you're doing, if it's overstressing you, that's not helpful.
Move on.
You know, to me, if people say, well, you know, this is one more appointment, I don't want you to come if it's going to add stress to you. That's not going to help. So if you can fit it in and feel good with it, that helps a lot too. So other, you know, success stories, like the little guy on the front of the book, who's probably about 16 or so now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. But, you know, his mom was having all of these issues trying to get pregnant, and then she came in and things just shifted. And sometimes what comes up is abortions, miscarriages, a lot of judgment. And we're really abused by the abortion thing. Regardless of the belief around it, it's very much in the collective, and people talk about people as if nobody here has had an abortion, okay? There could be a room of 100 people, and they talk like nobody here has had an abortion. I was in a class a few years ago, and a woman did a presentation in her with her PowerPoint slide. Every slide, abortion is wrong, abortion is wrong, abortion is wrong. Well, if you've had an abortion, that doesn't help. And so being able to resolve abortion, I've seen that a lot, where as soon as even women who think they've dealt with it, it's, you know, we're kind of programmed, and it's reinforced to just beat ourselves up over it. So sometimes, and I've seen this a lot, just resolving an abortion situation creates, you know, the opportunity for the baby to come through. And there's a spiritual aspect to it. And I really believe that these, you know, everything happens for a reason. And that's how the women, when I started, you know, were feeling their babies. And I believe that if there's an abortion or a miscarriage, that was just part of the way things needed to be. And there's, you know, babies there. You know, you could feel that and know that.
So there's so much of our past we bring into today, and a lot of these stories are meant to inspire us. That and we're looking for something familiar that brings us in, and this is why I think what we're missing in our we don't have that little village anymore. Although the social media village and the See My Fertility Facebook groups and so many other groups out there are really creating a new village and helping everyone out there. And so, you know, there's a lot of downsides to this social media, but there's a lot of upsides to the social media we have today. And here we are, you in Denver and me in upstate New York, and getting information from so many connections in the world. And we're really all learning from each other rather being, this is the way it is. And, you know, there's only one way. There's really infinite ways to bring the story together. And so it's a collective. We have to be open to all these sides. And so you mentioned balance. And I've always said it's really hard to stay like this, but we're kind of always going like this. We're always slightly out of balance. And maybe this is where stress pushes us in order, because what we're experiencing isn't working. And so it means go seek. And today you can seek things out by simply typing in a few words and finding some connections and some others out there that have experienced it. And the beauty of publishing. Let's see, your books are on Amazon. And so it's really a great way to simply, you know, type in Lynsi Eastburn and find a really great stories and books and ideas. And also you have a website.
Yep, it is hypnofertility.com.
And so really encourage everyone out there to share the stories, ask the questions. Ananda, thank you for reminding me that CMI Fertility has some great guided meditation out there. And so we're always just looking for the reminders that there's so many things. And I can tell you the number of clients that we've had where didn't work, but then you meet them somewhere and they've got their beautiful baby, and whether it was letting go, finding hypnosis, or acupuncture, massage, or just, you know, this idea of, we said that which we fights back. So if we're fighting this thing, it's going to be a harder journey, but a little bit of a fight, a little bit, you know, you started maybe a wrestle, and then it becomes a hug and a caress. And then we sort of learn to be part of the dance of all of this. And if, you know, we're afraid to jump in. There's a lot of fear, because what, you know, the interesting part, and maybe you could comment about this, so many individuals and couples experiencing infertility never even seek help.
No, there is such a fear, and then there's the financial impact to that too. I think it's like 3% of people that have fertility issues can actually get help for it too. So some of the things that, if we can eliminate fear or help people to do that, and just to know they can tap in to their own minds, that can make all the difference. And, you know, in the world.
And so all of the resources you have and that I have are really reasonably inexpensive, and many of them free, because we're all sharing these ideas to help everyone out there. And none of us know which thing is going to work. That's the interesting part. We really don't know which is the thing that's going to work. And I always say doing something. And sometimes it's just rethinking is a thing. And as you're bringing to the story here, it's changing the way you approach the problem. So
and hearing what somebody needs. You know, I don't know if you've heard of the research. There's a study that was done, but it showed that there was just a huge difference between having a practitioner that believed in you and one that didn't. So, you know, having you as a resource, sending someone to, you know, an RE that is open to the mind and to what the person needs, to the soul, to the emotions, that makes a big difference. I mean, they've literally shown that when you go to somebody, whatever the practitioner is, if they don't believe in you, you have that much less of a chance of having success, whatever it is. And that's what I found with people. If I can just get them to somebody that they are in harmony with, that they resonate with, that is not frightening them with some of these suggestions, that can make all the difference right there.
I think it's opening up, but we Western trained physicians, although most physicians believe in God, which is that higher power that we can't prove, we are really stressed and strained to believe in the power of the mind, or massage, or acupuncture, or music. And yet we all find enjoyment in getting massage or listening to good music, and yet we're stressed and strained into opening up. And unless there's a proper scientific study that proves something, we don't go there. And it really is interesting in the Western medical training. And I fear it's just continuing to burgeon that it's a shot or pill or surgery first, rather than to step back and be open to all of those things. Here are the things that you can add to your toolbox on your fertility journey. But you mentioned about, I always say it's the financial, the physical, so the shots, the pills, the surgery, and then the emotional, and really the emotional stuff seems to be the barrier. And I think we're all afraid to admit what we're not good at, what fails us, as if we are all responsible. So something I did back then or today caused this, and when this natural thing isn't happening, how do you approach that with the individual or couple?
Yeah, I find women will immediately go to feeling broken. I hear that word broken constantly, because this is supposed to be natural. This is inherent, and nobody thinks about it until they do. And then if something's not going right, all of a sudden there's blame, and there's fear, and there's, all of that kind of thing. So self-confidence is huge. So I use a lot of work around rebuilding self-confidence. And we can do that because we've all had successes somewhere in life. And even if it's not related to having a baby, we can still tap back into those and bring those feelings forth, so that's what's filling the cells, and that's what's filling the mind. Okay. So confidence and, as I said, stress, and just also directing your mind into what you can do. There's things you can't do. You cannot force a baby. You can't. If you could, then, IVF would be 99% successful, because look at all that you can do with it. So there has to be a mind or a body piece to it, mind or spirit. In fact, I call it the God concept, so to speak. That's the unknown. That's the piece, and or left brain, right brain. You can't left brain a baby. Literally what we would do if we could is we would, make that baby and put it in there and make it stay. And we can't. We have to allow. It's an allowing for the baby. So if that makes any sense, just taking the attitude or the approach or the way of viewing it, and then redirecting. It's good energy to, like, type A personality. We get things done. We can become control freaks, and we can have steam coming out of our ears. That's not good. But we get things done. So doer or achiever type people can take those abilities and channel them into what they can do, and then balance that with the allowing, and be able to receive their babies. And so much as that, I say, you're creating your baby, and your baby's creating you. There's just an unknown piece there that, however you access it, prayer, meditation, hypnosis, yoga, just positive thinking, contemplation, reflection, any of that makes all the difference.
Maybe the idea is more passionate thinking. In the sort of guiding the intent, and finding a way to let go of the stuff that's sort of holding you back in the process. Yeah. And I think that's what the conversation is about. And when you can have the conversation, and the beauty of bringing both of us on together, and we love to hear the voices and see the people, And we've done some support groups over the years, and really just a few people managed to get there. And I know only a few people. We know there are thousands and thousands, and but we're all busy. But the beauty is you can. I know I do a lot of searching for videos, which I'll watch at my convenience to learn a little bit more about what's out there, what type of things, and the stories that people share from their success are so critical. And you know, but it gets overwhelming for so many of us in the process. But you have to sort of find. I do, I have. I've been doing this day. I get to tell me a little bit daily inspiration book. I just
nice.
Which is sort of some daily inspirations I've done over the years, which is sort of my morning meditation, beginning the day, and I think that's because, you know, again, you got to start it in a way and have a daily practice to bring on the changes. And I've been doing this at See My Fertility for over 20 years. I didn't have these tools before. I'm so grateful for the problems that I experienced that brought me to things like hypnosis and prayer and meditation and daily intentions and listening to these positive ideas. But it is a hard one for people to believe that, you know, it's like Western, you know, that AMH really means this, and what do you mean I can change these things? And interesting, we had plenty of women with elevated FSHs and low AMHs that tapped into hypnosis, and I get at least say keto or the baby diet and how to reduce inflammation. And interesting, I know there are papers on how hypnosis reduces inflammation. Yeah. And it's likely the foundation of the shift in our body, which by reducing inflammation, increasing blood flow, we enhance the function of this physical body. But really, there's so much on a molecular level that we don't understand.
No, hypnosis is amazing for blood flow, getting cycle. I've had so many women that haven't had a cycle in months that I've gotten started. Just, you know, we just started. That's the purpose of the first session, is to get a period started so that they can go to that next level. There's a lot. In fact, there was a study. They did one hypnotherapy session with 12 women that had amenorrhea, and they did one session. Within 12 weeks, 9 out of 12 women had started their periods, and the other 3 had said, you know, I just feel better. I feel better overall. But that's 75%. That's really amazing. And you just kind of figure how all of that fits into the other things that go on with such a vast subject with, you know, infertility and things that can happen. I call it initiation too, which I think is good. If you think of this as an initiation, if you didn't have your baby, or you had your baby real easily, then you might not have become open to mind-body things. You might not have known about these things. You might not have ever changed your diet or went to yoga or did anything like that. But if you look at the pain that goes with this, and we do go through pain in our lives, but that's always transition, right? And it's never comfortable when we shift. But if you think of it as empowering, as an initiation, we're going through this, creating this change, and then the baby's the icing on the cake. It's like, then you can allow the baby to show up. It's not just about just the baby.
I'm sure I stole this statement from someone. Those things in life that are the most valuable are the hardest to obtain. Actually, my brother Ray shared that with me a long time ago. And we value things that come with work and challenges. It obviously doesn't seem right when it's happening this way, but if you just focus on this isn't fair, isn't right, again, that spiral into the struggle, the stress hormones. But if you then can begin to reverse the concepts and ideas, and I know that hypnosis is really a guided imagery of that which you dream and desire. And the more you focus, and I know vision boarding and journaling and listening, and although it's hard to be around those with success, by being around those with success, even though it's difficult, as you begin to find an ease with it, that's the shift and change in the hormones and the stress factors, which will then begin the blood flow. And that ovary needs the blood flow, it needs the oxygen, and it needs the inflammatory markers to really go down in order to blossom that egg that is sitting there, just waiting for the right environment. And that environment is really, that's what we're talking about, because the environment is derived from what we think in here, what we put in here, and how we move this thing here. And I've been talking about the Ferrari, and I was looking up Ferrari junkyards, and there are a lot of Ferrari junkyards. And because people get in a Ferrari and think they're on, at the Indianapolis 500, and what happens? Boom. And so really, showroom, slow it down, tap into some new mind ideas. And you want to have a quick comment about the difference between these two guys?
Yeah, absolutely. The first book, It's Conceivable, was written in 2005, released in 2006, I believe. And its purpose was to let people know this was an option, and here's how hypnosis can help your body and what it can do for you. And it didn't talk a lot about, it was more like an art and science type of thing. The second book, The 3 Keys to Conception, it balances, it really focuses on meditate, listen, trust. And this was something I got in meditation about, must be 25 years ago, that I kept getting this, trying to, what's going on? What should I do? And I kept getting this message, meditate. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm all right, whatever. And then eventually I finally sort of settled into that. The next message I got was listen. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to listen to? I don't listen, because that's the mind. And then I began to listen, to tune in. And then the third piece was trust, and to trust that everything is exactly as it needs to be. And so this, as I worked with women, so this book was 2013 when it came out. And as I was working with women, I was seeing more of that, what I call God concept. I mean, it doesn't matter what your belief system is, but that higher power. And women were losing that, and they were having spiritual crisis because of infertility, and because we do tend to separate out, the Western model, right? So that's the Western medicine. There's religion, and then, there's your psychiatrist kind of thing. That's where we separate everything out, and that causes, it's just awful to lose your connection to the higher power, whatever that is. And so I was seeing more of a spiritual piece coming through, more of the babies, not even, I know it sounds a bit out there, but not even quite here yet, but we are aware of them, and we do. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over. Women know about their babies. They know they're having a boy and a girl. They know they're having twins. They know it. They've known it for years. And so these were the pieces that were coming out more, and I felt was really important to open up to and bring in more of that right brain, or that spiritual, that emotional piece, and ways to do that, ways to tap in the goddess type of things, not as a religion per se, but we all know, archetypally, symbolically, a goddess is an empowered woman, right? When we describe a wonderful woman, because that woman is like, she's a goddess, she's just got it all going for her, and tapping into our inner goddess. But it does impact us subconsciously on knowing what is a goddess, fertile, right? Mm-hmm. Fertility, powerful, in the body, just, fully mind, body, spirit. So that's where that book goes a little bit more, which I really enjoyed doing. And they're different. I mean, it does, the second one connects on, or goes with the evolution of the work. Mm-hmm. But people that tend to be a little more scientific like the first one better, and people that are more into, like, I'm on my spiritual journey and I feel, more like there's something else here, like the second one. So I think that, does that make sense?
we get 100%. We get caught up in the God word, and I've always said that basically this thing here is the creator of God, the spirit, the mind, the energy. It's like a radio frequency. We're actually connecting, all of us, and we're dreamers, and dreamers are creators. And so create the dream and go with it. And it really is an amazing concept and idea. So it is real that we're capable of this. I mean, this is look what humans, gods have created, men and women, and ultimately the fertility journey is sort of one of the most powerful drives, because it's, where does it come from? For so many, for so long, they work to prevent pregnancy, right? And then something happens, and it's like hunger. Like, you're not hungry, but then suddenly you're hungry. But it's sort of, for most of us, we have plenty of energy, but why are we hungry? But we're on our individual, unique journeys, all of us. We're all just beautifully unique individuals. It doesn't matter your sex, your race, your size. All of us are on this amazing journey, and your dream is your dream, and empowering people to come, put it out there, and fear, because we're all afraid. I know I get sweaty even doing this. It's like, okay, can I do this? And am I going to make a fool of myself? It's all this stuff. But ultimately, my wife and I have been watching Mozart in the Jungle, and fun. But this idea that it really is your life this time, and it's okay to have fear. It's okay to not really want to share it and get out there, but really these tools that you're sharing are, and the Facebook Live groups, all of them out there, or whatever chatting groups were out there, we're all beginning to say, hey, it's okay to come in. Sometimes you're going to get razzed a little bit. It's okay. Yeah. It's all right. And so we've been doing this for about an hour now, I think.
Really? Wow, went fast.
And it goes fast. And this is going to be on, on the Facebook page for See My Fertility, and I'm sure you're going to be sharing it in some way also. Absolutely. And really, this is, there's so many people have connected, and Carrie and Nick and Bonnie and Penny and Ashley and Natalie and Boris and Carrie, and I can just go down. Just really, so many people are sharing this journey, and it really is great when we can bring the sort of this Western science and the Eastern science, science of the mind, and bring them together and realize that they're not different. They're really the same basic foundation, but we just think them differently. And these ancient tools that you brought, we're really appreciative.
Well, if you look at all of those things, compassion, right? Compassion is the common denominator in all of them, whether it be Western medicine, whether it be particular religion, spirituality, and just being a fellow human or being in one of these groups, compassion. So then if you have compassion for yourself, it just shifts the journey. It just really does.
Much of what I recommend is the mirror meditation. And part of the daily intention is, and I know Hu Lin in, come to me in a second, Ho'oponopono, which is basically love, forgiveness. And we need to do it for ourselves. And the truth is that the conversation is really only going on in here. And that's the understanding of the human body is that although we're having a conversation, it's really what vibrates in here that sends those signals. So I may say one thing, but you hear another.
Exactly.
And so our jewel here is working to share the methods of shifting and changing. And the unique part is all these unique individuals coming into this world in the physical form, and how to tap into the spiritual form while we're in the physical, and utilizing that for whatever those dreams are.
Yes, the unknown, the unseen, but the felt, that we really do. If we get out of our own ways, we really can tap in and feel that.
Well, I'm really grateful to Lynsi for coming on and sharing your books, the stories, ideas, and I think we're all working collectively, whether you're an Eastern trained practitioner or a Western trained practitioner, is really to help more and more couples, individuals, and beautiful human beings find their dreams, right?
Yes, that's very well said.
So I'm going to finish up because I know you have many things on your mind going on, and visit Lynsi. And would you repeat your website again?
Yeah, it's www.hypnofertility.com.
And Dr. Rob Kiltz from CNY Fertility. And you might check out my other website is mindbodysmile.com, and CNY Healing Arts. Again, God bless. Thank you, Lynsi, and we look forward to communicating more. Take care.
Thank you.
God bless everyone. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.